I'm talking today with Pete Caliendo, who is one of the authors in the 2014 Hitting Challenge. If I did a resume for you, it would go on and list I don't know how many countries now, a couple of dozen at least. You've been involved in baseball at all levels. You've been involved with the Olympics, with the World Baseball Classic. You're involved with USA Baseball's national program. You're involved with some senior teams in terms of scouting, recruiting. But I think most people know you for what you do for coaches of younger age teams and for your DVD series that's so popular, and also for the fact that you have a new book out, and that's featured on WebBall as well. As one of the authors in the 2014 Hitting Challenge, you chose as your focus timing, good timing and bad timing. Some of the key factors in bad timing that you see as things that have to be corrected.
Absolutely, and I think one of the most important things is the reason timing is so important is that we work so much on mechanics, and that's important because balance and all those things are important. But once you have that, we kind of forget about the timing aspect. We depend on it in game situations and then wonder when a pitcher comes in that throws a different type of pitch or different speeds, or even a pitcher that throws really slow compared to the guy that was thrown earlier, now our kids can't hit it, and they blame the pitcher in some ways. Well, it's not the pitcher's fault. It's our fault for not training properly on how to make those adjustments when you see a different velocity or different type of pitch.
Now, in the article, you talk a little bit about the difference between bad early and bad late, and I think that's critical for people to understand, too, which is worse and why it happens at all.
Absolutely, and then Richard, you know this probably better than I do. The timing aspect, when you do it too early, the result of it will be you're going to lack power. You're going to be able to drive the ball. You could still get a base hit out of it, by swinging, but you're just not going to drive the ball real well. And that's okay sometimes, because you do get off time, and if you're going to be off time, be a little earlier. On time is obviously what we're trying to get. If you're going to be late, that's a huge issue because now the only thing you're going to be able to use is your hands and arms. Your upper body is the only thing that's going to really get into the factor because your front foot hasn't gotten down on time or early, and then the rest of the body can't sink. So now, most likely, you're going to miss the pitch, you're going to uppercut, and we know what young kids, and we know major leaguers, when they miss a ball, 90, whatever percent you want to use, they're going to swing underneath the ball. Well, young kids are going to swing even more underneath the ball because they tend to undercut more than anything else. So that's going to cause you to swing under the ball even more because you're using your upper body. It's going to cause you also to roll your wrist early. So it's going to do a lot of bad things, and you'll see a result of a lot of times even a ball being extremely, hitting the ball really, really late. All those things are a factor when you're really late. Okay. And that's why to be on time and to train on time is important.
Okay, that's actually, so two parts to that, because one is understanding what good timing is and why it's important, and recognizing good timing, not in terms of results, but in terms of your sense of where you are with the baseball. But also, what I liked about your article is that you get into the training routines of it, how to train for timing. And I think, people will read the article and understand the difference of bad to good and all of that, but it's getting to the part of the article where we talk about training techniques and the things that you do with kids, because we're talking specifically about what's tough with the younger ages, and you can define younger as 10, 7, 12, whatever age you want to. So, training to get good timing. And what I found interesting was it's not just training for good timing, but you sometimes have to train away bad timing.
Absolutely.
So we'll talk about that a bit.
One of the issues is that we have found that a lot of players, they're hitting up pitching machines that have the same speed. They're throwing up, coaches, whether it be young kids or older kids, they're throwing batting practice the same speed, and they're working on their swing, but they're never really working on their timing. So we found is the earlier you start with slower pitches, the better they start to understand how to time a pitch. And as you continue to do that, they get better at understanding timing before they even have to worry about the fastball that just comes in regular speed. So first thing is training for slow pitching. That could be done underhand, soft toss in front, underhand. You could toss it slow. They could start to see a little bit of an arc, because when you have an arc and you start recognizing a little bit different pitch, you now have to time that pitch different. One of the things that we use is stopping at contact, as you know.
Right.
When you're in your hitting position, whatever the pitch may be, we just make them stop at contact to see what their timing looks like. If they stop early, they're going to have to wait for the ball, and then the ball could drop and they can't make the adjustment. If they stop real late, they're going to miss the ball. So they're going to see it instantly. And I think it's important the player feels it and understands it when they miss time.
Mechanical purists are going to jump on that a little bit, because the whole notion of stopping your swing midway,
Yeah.
okay? And so we got to emphasize that we're talking about a specific training purpose here. We're not talking about teaching guys how to hit. We're talking about how to understand timing.
And here's the benefit of the stopping. We all know, just like in pitching, we don't want to stop. We want to see fluid motion. We understand all that. I hope that all the coaches understand. 1, 2, 3 mechanical movement is just for the training purpose, but then you've got to put it all together and continue to stay fluid. So we understand that aspect of it, but other things occur when you stop. You also start to understand not only your timing, but have your hands rolled too early at contact. What is the perfect contact spot? A player will swing a bat, mistime it, and then we try to explain what you did wrong. But how do they know that? They have to see it visually, and they have to feel it. So when you stop at contact, you actually get a visual, because the barrel might be lowered and the ball way low. The wrist might be rolled over. The player sees that, but also feels it. So once they've got that down, you not only work on their timing, you also, as you said, you're working on some mechanics, but then later on you can continue your swing. You don't have to do that drill anymore.
Okay. 2-ball drills, front tosses, side tosses, all of those things that you talk about, some of which you like better than others. And it's funny, though, I have to tell you that the other authors that have read through the articles keep mentioning the fact of, how much timing is important. And it doesn't matter whether their particular focus in what they're talking about is the mental focus, or whether it's pitch recognition, or whether it's the mechanics of the swing. They all understand that timing is ultimately what you're trying to do. You're trying to get optimal timing with the baseball. So how far can you take that when you're working in a cage or on the sidelines, and how much has to be at some point, okay, we've done the drills as best we can, now does it still apply in the game situation? And how much time do you spend on a specific isolation drill, and how much time you just still have to be out there, real pitchers your age, the real consequences of getting your timing down?
Absolutely. So that continues now. You've got your training indoors, possibly outdoors, in front, soft toss in front, which we think is ideal out front. I think most people agree if you can get that. I showed a drill where you take a baseball, and I think you can see the baseball here, but they also have to time different pitches. So with a front toss, you can actually throw a fastball by having the ball coming out of your hand this way. You could throw a changeup by turning the hand over. Now the ball slows down. And you could also throw a curveball by spinning the ball, by learning how to spin it as a coach.
Right.
So now I've got another phase of that, because I'm not just throwing the ball slow one speed, but I'm now changing the different speeds into different pitches and still working on my timing. And then that continues when pitchers are thrown in the bullpen. I think that you need a hitter there consistently, so that hitter or those hitters are working on their timing, because you don't have to hit a baseball to work on your timing. You have to get your foot placement down to understand where the ball is in relative to the location where it's coming from when it gets there and the foot gets down. So you continue to work on timing. The other aspect, I know coaches are going to have a difficult thing with this. We tend to have coaches throw batting practice, and depends on different ages. I'm a big fan of having players throwing batting practice from the original speed. If they're going to work on pitching, that's a great time to work on pitching. If you need a young man to work on changeups, and we know that the changeup is a good pitch for young pitchers once they establish a good fastball. But understand that a pitcher that's establishing good fastballs in and out, in essence, is throwing two different pitches, and we all know that because they're two different speeds. So if I have a pitcher throwing batting practice in and out to hitters, that hitter has to work on his timing for those pitches. If that pitcher is working on changeup, that hitter has to work on timing when he's hitting that changeup. Even if he knows it's coming, they still have to work on timing. And then I would take it a step further, and I know it's not easy for some coaches. I would take it a step further and say, now the next thing that the pitcher will do, he'll throw one fastball, one changeup, and the hitter won't know what pitch is coming. So now I've got hitters working on those specific things. And at the same time, your pitcher's working on his pitches. I think that, so you're right, you have to take it to another level where it's more game situation and players start to work on training, on timing. But the problem is, if they haven't done it in practice, in the off-season enough, they can't get to the game part. It becomes very difficult then to work on time. And a great example, Richard, is if you spend some time in the off-season on throwing the ball underhand soft, over and over and over, and then all of a sudden speed the ball up and give them a little fastball, you're going to see the difference on how they're accustomed to that speed of the fastball in a straight line. What they're not accustomed to is seeing something a little bit with a hump or a little slower, where coaches say, wait back, wait back, wait back. Well, it's not that easy to wait back. You have to time the ball to wait back. You can't just sit back. I mean, I remember a long time ago having a professional player who sat back a lot. Won't say the name. He ended up playing in the big leagues. We pretty much had his number in the pennant ball because he sat back way too much. We want young kids to time the ball, not to sit back. And that's, I think, if we continue to work on timing in the off season, a lot of that will become better when it comes to real game situations because they've seen enough of the slower pitching to identify it. And I think that's going to get into your other segment with somebody else, how important it is to identify that pitch. Right? To recognize the speed and all that. That comes into this factor here. Yeah. Like I said, timing is just one aspect of it, but identifying it is huge.
Yeah. Thank you very much for doing this.
Pleasure.
Pete, I got to ask you where you are next week because I think that's one of the things that always comes up in any conversation when I'm talking with you or about you to somebody else is because you don't spend much time sitting at home in Chicago.
I try to, but we're very lucky in this game to be able to do the things we do. You and I and all these other guys. I will be in not next week. I'm here in Chicago running some workouts for USA Baseball, our national training program, identification program. Right. The following week, I'm in Mexico for a camp in Obregon, Mexico. So I'll be working with some coaches and players there. I'm looking forward to that.
Okay, and then the other trips to Europe and other trips.
I've got trips going on to Italy. Okay, a couple teams. Italy, Dominican Republic. We like going down there, training a lot of players. It's exciting. It's fun. It's cultural.
There's a lot of people in Australia that want to keep seeing you.
Yeah, looking forward to going there. Hopefully one day. Yeah. And then we've got the International Baseball Federation. We've got our tournaments coming up this summer. That's going to keep us busy. So, but one of my favorites coming to Canada. Can't wait. Coming back to Vancouver, and was in Saskatoon last year also. So looking forward to it. As you know, Canadian baseball is very good. And I always look forward to working with the coaches.
I think you and I met about 20 years ago, and it was in a Canadian baseball environment. So yeah, it's always appreciated when you go anywhere that your focus is on the coaches, and it's a pyramid thing, right? If you help coaches, the coaches can help their players, and if you're helping players, the coaches don't get the message. The players are going to have conflicting messages. Well, this guy said, but I'm your coach, and this is what I say. And the key for everything you do is that you're a coach's coach, and I personally appreciate you for that.
Thank you, Richard. I appreciate that.
I think there's not enough of that going on. There's too much player instruction at higher levels. It's getting the dads who suddenly are faced with a pile of equipment in a bag. Those are the guys that you're great with, and just keep doing it, buddy. Wherever in the world you are, just keep doing it, okay?
Thank you. I
Thank-
appreciate it. Likewise.
Thank you very much, Pete.
Okay,
Thank
Richard.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Everybody.